Top 10 biggest crystals ever found. Beneath mountains, deserts, and forgotten caves, the Earth has spent millions of years building structures that are more perfect than any cathedral, not from stone or steel, but from crystal. These are not gems for jewelry. They are monuments of silence and time. Formed in darkness, one molecule at a time, these giants were never meant to be seen. Some reach the size of buses. Others tower like frozen beams of light. A few are so large that no human tool can move them. These are the top 10 biggest crystals ever found. The largest, the rarest, the most breathtaking formations our planet has ever grown. They are not just geological phenomena. They prove that beauty doesn't need polish and scale doesn't need exaggeration. Nature has already built its cathedrals. We just had to find them. Don't forget to press and hold that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe before we begin. Ranked 10. Elbaite Tourmaline, the rocket buried in stone. Beneath the quiet, sun-bleached slopes of Pala, California, an opening in stone changed the story of American gemology. It wasn't a strike for wealth or fame, but an encounter with structure, color, and geological clarity. Hidden in the earth for over 100 million years, a crystal chamber broke open in 1972, revealing a pocket lined with vertical prisms of tourmaline so vivid that they seemed impossible. In that chamber stood a giant, a 1.3-meter Elbaite Tourmaline weighing nearly 55 kilograms. It was uncut, unbroken, and untouched. Its body radiated a natural gradient, green near its base, rose near the tip. Each color is woven into the next with the finesse of chemistry, not art. This zoning wasn't decorative. It was geological testimony, written over epochs by lithium-rich fluids cooling through fractured granite. Elbaite, one of tourmaline's most complex variants, is known for its chromatic range. Where others crystallize in consistency, this one embraces variety, its spectrum shifting depending on trace elements like iron, manganese, and sodium. The rocket pocket held dozens of such crystals, but none matched the symmetry, saturation, and scale of this one. Its name wasn't a metaphor. The arrangement of crystals resembled a launch array, vertical, aligned, immense. Yet the impact was silent. No fire, no smoke, only the shock of seeing nature solve geometry with beauty. Though once prized by Chinese royalty, California's tourmaline had faded from the world stage by the early 20th century. But this discovery redirected global attention, not because it revived a trade, but because it reminded the world of what still sleeps beneath its feet. The rocket pocket's finest crystal is housed in the Smithsonian today. It requires no setting, no cutting, no intervention. It was never meant to be jewelry. It was meant to be seen and remembered. Ranked 9th, Fluorite Cubes, the geometry of light. In a forgotten corner of northern England, under the rolling fields of County Durham, a mine carves quietly into limestone. It doesn't yield diamonds. It doesn't roar with machines. What it reveals is subtler and far rarer. It reveals precision. At the heart of the Rogerley mine, a crystal forms not in chaos, but in perfect logic. Fluorite, a mineral found worldwide, is rarely this large, seldom this exact. Yet entire rooms bloom with cubes so sharply defined they could pass for artificial models. Some reach nearly a meter across. Their surfaces are flawless. Their edges are strict. They form not in piles but in symmetry, geometries only nature dares attempt. What sets the Rogerley cubes apart is not just their shape, it's what they do to light. Under sunlight, they awaken. In the presence of day, these crystals fluoresce, glowing in intense greens and electric blues, colors that vanish as soon as they return to shadow. The transformation isn't magic, but science. Rare earth elements trapped within the crystal lattice capture light and re-emit it as color. It's a phenomenon so rare it exists in only a handful of fluorite deposits worldwide. Rogerley's cubes don't reflect light. They respond to it. Some of them don't stop at one cube. They fuse, interlocking at precise angles, one cube growing through another like a frozen equation. The effect is surreal, as though the earth had paused to sketch something deliberate and mathematical. But there is no artifice here. These formations took hundreds of millions of years, forming in limestone cavities as fluorine-rich water, slowly crystallized in silence. The process was unhurried, unforced. Each cube grew atom by atom, side by side, plane after plane. Today, Rogerly remains active, not industrial, but intimate. It is a mine run not for volume, but for reverence. Crystals are extracted by hand, with brushes and breath, not blasts. Each removal is a rescue, not a conquest. Among the world's biggest crystals, others may be longer, heavier, but none match this purity of form, this quiet, geometric precision, born in darkness and meant only to be revealed. Ranked 8th, Kunzite Crystal, the silent flame of Afghanistan. High in the rugged mountains of eastern Afghanistan, where the wind cuts like glass and the valleys breathe ancient silence, miners chip carefully into crumbling pegmatite walls. They are not hunting gold. What they seek lies deeper, in veins lined with pale lilac light. And sometimes, in rare and astonishing moments, the mountain answers. From one such break, a single Kunzite crystal emerged, 1.5 meters long, weighing over 60 kilograms, and glowing faintly as if lit from within. Unlike many gemstones that dazzle with surface brilliance, Kunzite draws the eye inward. Its color doesn't shout. It lingers, soft pinks and violets suspended in a translucent body that feels more spirit than stone. This crystal formed inside a lithium-rich pegmatite, deep underground, in near stillness. Over millions of years, pressure and heat forged its structure atom by atom. Trace elements of manganese gave it a hue, but time gave it character. What came forth was a prism of restraint, unflawed, uncut, entire. Kunzite, a variety of the mineral spodumene, is rarely found in such proportions. Most samples fracture during extraction, others fade in sunlight, but this one held, no cracks, no clouding, just a flame, steady, delicate, silent. Its discovery was never widely broadcast. There were no auctions, no international exhibits. It passed from mountain to market quietly, like so many treasures do in places ruled more by dust than cameras. But among gemologists, its story spread. A whisper about a crystal that should not have survived yet did. This was not a stone built for royalty. It wasn't shaped for rings or locked in vaults. It was found as it was, whole. And that wholeness, unusual, fragile, profound, became its power. Not all giants are loud. Some burn gently and are remembered for how they endured. Ranked 7th. Dom Pedro Aquamarine, the Gem Tower. In the misty hills of Minas Gerais, Brazil, where the land is split by rivers of quartz and forgotten roads wind through pegmatite ridges, a discovery was made that would redefine what a gemstone could be. It wasn't just big, it was breathtaking. A single crystal of aquamarine was unearthed deep within a mine near Pedra Azul. Raw and unbroken, it measured over 1 meter in length and weighed more than 45 kilograms. The miners who found it could hardly believe its clarity and color, a saturated blue-green so vivid that it seemed to carry the memory of the sea. They named it Dom Pedro after the first emperor of Brazil. But what made this aquamarine different wasn't just its scale, it was its survival. Most beryl crystals of that size never leave the earth intact. They crack, they split, they lose their fire. But Dom Pedro held, every facet already waiting inside, just beneath the skin. Rather than being cut into smaller stones, the decision was made to create something singular. In the hands of master gem artist Bernd Munsteiner, the rough was transformed, but not into a faceted gem, into a sculpture. It is a towering obelisk of light, 35 centimeters tall, shaped into wave-like curves that refract and bend illumination like liquid. The final piece, the largest cut aquamarine in the world, is now housed in the Smithsonian Institution, not behind a jeweler's glass, but standing freely, like a monument to water trapped in stone. Dom Pedro is more than a crystal. It is a structure of stillness, of clarity made physical. And in a world that cuts, divides, and reshapes, this tower proves that beauty doesn't always need to be broken down to be understood. Ranked 6th, HimalayanQuartz Cluster, the cathedral above the clouds. High in the cold, thin air of the Nepalese Himalayas, where oxygen thins and prayer flags ripple in silence, The earth reveals its bones with reverence, not through violence, but through erosion, patience, and height. Here on granite slopes veiled in mist, a formation was uncovered, a quartz cluster unlike any at sea level. Stretched across several meters of fractured alpine rock, the cluster emerged like a field of frozen spears, crystal points rising side by side, each clean, complete, and unbroken. Some stood as tall as a child, others narrowed to dagger-like clarity, angled in perfect symmetry. The collective mass was staggering, over 6 tons of pure quartz, formed not deep below the earth, but within reach of the sky. Quartz is the Earth's most abundant crystal, but it rarely grows this large, clear, and at such impossible altitudes. These Himalayan specimens formed inside ancient pockets of molten granite, where high pressure, low temperatures, and mineral-rich fluids allowed them to grow slowly, undisturbed for millions of years. Their transparency wasn't just a trait, but a record. Every ripple, inclusion, faint internal veil, and memory of shifting tectonics and rising mountains. What sets this cluster apart is not just its weight or scale, it's its setting. These crystals were not mined in tunnels but liberated from mountain faces, slowly revealed by glacial melt, landslides, and the steady hand of time. Trekkers describe stumbling upon them with awe, finding thrones of glass perched on cliffs, untouched by civilization, surrounded only by snow, wind, and sky. Few specimens from this cluster made it down the mountain intact. Fewer remain unaltered, but those that did, now housed in museums or guarded by collectors, still carry that altitude, that silence, that sense of being born not below but above. For all its weight, the Himalayan quartz cluster doesn't feel like it came from the earth. It feels like it fell from the sky. Ranked 5th, Topaz Boulder, the Myanmar giant. In the central highlands of Myanmar, where jungle hills give way to granite ridges and the ground is laced with ancient mineral veins, a stone silenced even the most seasoned miners. It wasn't buried in some legendary vault or hidden deep beneath explosive seams. It was waiting, calm, colossal, and perfect. What emerged was a boulder of nearly pure topaz weighing over 250 kilograms and measuring more than 1 meter across. Its color was a soft champagne gold, glowing from within like morning light behind frosted glass. Unlike most gemstones of this size, which are riddled with fractures or clouded by impurities, this topaz was remarkably clean, a near miracle in geological terms. Topaz, a silicate mineral formed in the final stages of crystallizing magma, typically appears in smaller prismatic forms, but it can grow vast under rare conditions: slow cooling, fluorine-rich fluids, and stable pressure. This boulder resulted from all those elements aligning, not for hours or years, but millions of years. And then, without fanfare, it surfaced. No explosives were used, and no rush of industry followed. The stone was carefully extracted, lifted whole from the earth as though it had been sleeping. Unlike colored gems destined for rings or crowns, this giant wasn't meant to be cut. It was too large, too complete, too quiet in its majesty. Today it rests in Myanmar's national collection, not as a commodity, but as a cultural monument, a natural colossus that asks nothing, declares nothing, and remains unforgettable. Among Earth's biggest crystals, few carry such grace. It does not shine by brilliance alone. Its presence is in its stillness, and in its weight, the earth speaks. Ranked 4th, Amethyst Geode, the Empress of Uruguay. At the edge of Artigas, a quiet province in northern Uruguay, miners split open the basalt bones of an ancient lava flow and found a cathedral hidden inside. There was no gold or metal. What spilled into view was a chamber lined with stars, violet crystals, thousands of them glowing softly in the dark. This was not a simple geode. This was the Empress of Uruguay, the largest amethyst geode ever discovered. Standing over 3.2 meters tall and weighing 2.5 tons, it dwarfs anyone approaching. Its shape is vertical, regal, almost architectural, like a natural shrine. But what draws people in is not just the scale, it's the depth. Inside, the walls are densely coated in deep purple amethyst points, each terminated to perfection, some as long as a human hand. Formed over 130 million years ago, this geode began as a gas bubble trapped in volcanic rock. Over time, hydrothermal fluids rich in silica and iron seeped in, crystallizing layer by layer. The outer shell hardened, sealing in the slow miracle. A crystal ecosystem formed, untouched, unhurried, and undisturbed until one pick strike finally cracked it open. Unlike many mineral giants sliced or reshaped for trade, the Empress was preserved whole. After its discovery, it was carefully reinforced and shipped across the Atlantic. Today it stands in a museum in Australia where visitors don't just look at it, they step into it. It is tall enough to enter, silent sufficient to humble, and radiant enough to feel alive. Some crystals shimmer, others impress. But this one surrounds me. It doesn't sit on a pedestal, it becomes the room. Ranked third, Quartz Cluster, the giants beneath Namibia and Arkansas. The Earth did something astonishingly similar across two continents, thousands of miles apart, twice. In the depths of Namibia's Namib Desert and under the pine-covered mountains of Arkansas, USA, giants of quartz grew, not single crystals but entire clusters, fields of towering points rising side by side, like glass forests hidden in the stone. In Namibia, the Ochua Quartz Cluster was uncovered within ancient pegmatite cavities, one of its most significant natural formations. Some individual points stretched over 2 meters, with the whole cluster estimated to weigh more than 14 tons. Their surfaces were smooth, luminous, and clear as still water. They looked less like geology and more like frozen breath, perfectly aligned by time. Thousands of miles away in Mount Ida, Arkansas, another cluster told a parallel story. Within the Ouachita Mountains, quartz veins formed inside sedimentary rock folded under immense tectonic pressure. A subterranean vault of crystals resulted, points erupting outward from a shared core, some weighing hundreds of kilograms each. Some Arkansas specimens measuring over 3 meters are so transparent they're often mistaken for glass. But these clusters aren't just large. They are complete. Many crystals remained fully terminated, their 6-sided tips preserved exactly as they were grown. No polish, no cuts, just molecular architecture executed in perfect silence. It's not size alone that places these clusters in the top ranks. It's their order, the way dozens, sometimes hundreds of crystals grow in harmony, respecting one another's angles and space, forming a geometric unity that feels intelligent. In museums, they dominate rooms. In private hands, they defy shipping logistics. But wherever they rest, they carry the same truth. These were not just crystals. They were assemblies. Proof that even in darkness, structure can rise. And in the stillest places on Earth, the Earth itself still knows how to build. Ranked second, Naica SeleniteCrystals, the crystal skyscrapers. Beneath the blistering sands of northern Mexico, in the heart of the Chihuahua Desert, lies a place that defies scale, light, and belief. 200 meters underground, a hidden cathedral was discovered, where heat suffocates and silence vibrates like pressure. Not carved by hands and not raised by faith, but grown by the earth itself. In 2000, workers broke into a hollow chamber while expanding tunnels in the Naica mine and stepped into an impossible world. There, rising from the floor and hanging from the ceiling, were crystals unlike before. Beams of translucent white selenite, some measuring 11 meters long and weighing more than 50 tons each. They weren't decorations, they were pillars, some as tall as a 4-story building, stretching between stone and shadow like the bones of sleeping titans. These are the largest natural crystals ever discovered. Formed over 500,000 years in a perfectly stable hydrothermal environment, these selenite monoliths grew in near boiling water, suspended in a delicate balance of temperature, pressure, and mineral saturation. The cave remained sealed and submerged for eons, allowing gypsum molecules to settle slowly, patiently into perfection. The result? Crystals that are so large and so pure that they appear sculpted, but they are untouched. To enter the cave of the crystals is to join a different planet. The temperature inside averages 58 degrees Celsius, 136 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity above 90%. Humans can't survive more than a few minutes without cooling suits and oxygen packs. The crystals may appear peaceful, but they are protected by an environment more alien than welcoming. And yet, in that extremity, beauty thrives. These crystals are not just big, they are monumental, the physical embodiment of deep time and geological patience. No artist, architect, or civilization could have made them. Only nature, undisturbed and uninterrupted. They will never be moved, never be sold. They are too large, too delicate. It's too sacred in scale. And so they remain locked beneath the earth, not to be possessed, only to be witnessed. In the first place, Beryl Crystal, the giant of Madagascar. The largest single crystal ever found on Earth. Deep within the heart of Madagascar, where ancient tectonic plates stitch the island's foundation and time moves at a geologic crawl, the Earth performed a feat no eye was meant to witness. It did not erupt or collapse. It grew, slowly, steadily, and without interruption. What emerged was not a gem. It was a colossus, a beryl crystal formed in a silent vault of granite, stretching 18 meters long and weighing an estimated 90 tons. Not a cluster, it's not an assembly. A single crystal, coherent, continuous, and intact. The largest known of its kind ever recorded in the history of our planet. Imagine a 6-story building carved from a single molecular blueprint to understand its scale. A structure that never cracked, splintered, or stopped growing. This wasn't formed in chaos. It was crafted by precision. The slow drip of boron-rich fluids through fractured rock, the perfect pressure, the perfect temperature, uninterrupted for millions of years. Beryl, the mineral family behind such precious stones as emerald and aquamarine, rarely exceeds a few centimeters in size. Even specimens exceeding a meter are exceptional. But this was something else entirely. A giant among atoms, a monument of structure. It redefined the upper limit of what a crystal could be. When it was discovered, there were no grand headlines, auctions, or museum transport. The crystal was too large to move, too integrated with the earth to extract. Even today, it rests where it was formed, half embedded, half exposed, guarded not by walls but by weight and wonder. Scientists have studied it, and miners have circled it, but none fully grasped it. This isn't a crystal meant for possession. It is the Earth's original sculpture, chiseled by chemistry and time. It is unmatched in size, unyielding in silence. And unlike every other gem on this list, it remains exactly where the planet left it. A titan asleep in stone, untouched, unmoved, and, perhaps forever, unreachable. Beneath deserts, beneath cities, behind cave walls and mountain spines, the Earth has quietly shaped monuments, not of steel or stone, but of crystal. Not made to dazzle, not made to be seen, and yet once uncovered, they cannot be forgotten. These giants, some towering, some buried, some too massive to ever move, are not treasures of wealth, but testaments to time. Formed over millions of years, atom by atom, they are the slow architecture of a living planet. If this journey into Earth's hidden geometry moved you, consider sharing it, because the more we look beneath the surface, the more wonder we find. Let us know which resonates with you in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.